Aloha! Here we are in Maui. How's it going, Johnny?
It's going great.
I couldn't be more excited to be here in the Valley Isle. Maui is a beautiful place. It has wind sports, it has water sports. If you want to learn how to prone foil surf, this is a great place to go. In this video, we're going to talk about wave selection. So roughing into a wave, what does that mean? A green water catch, what does that mean? And what does it look like when you get up? How is it different getting up prone foiling versus standard surfing?
There we go.
I know for one of the things for me as being new to prone foil surfing is I had a lot of pressure, angst I put on myself because as somebody trying to learn how to become a better surfer, I always try to catch that wave early and stay high in the green water. And at first when I went to prone foil, I went for that same thing and it didn't work out so well for me. And what I learned over time is this patience, because there's more than one way to get up on a prone foil. And that rough in get up is something that is really useful, especially for beginners, but even advanced guys use it too. And so Johnny, I'm hoping you can talk us through what does it mean to rough into a wave? What does it mean when is the time that you should try to get into a little bit more green water? And then let's go through like the actual dynamics of what makes it different to prone foil surf pop-up than being on a typical surfboard.
Learning to prone foil surf, let's talk about what I call the rough in. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you're a surfer and you might be a good surfer, you're used to big, steep, hollow waves and that sort of stuff, and that's fine and good. But on a foil, if you're not super dialed, it's going to be problematic, because the first thing with foiling is you've got to learn how to be very confident riding the foil and controlling it. The reality with the foils is they're so efficient that once you're riding that foil, you won't believe how fast you are. And so what I call the rough in is probably a building block of learning, in that you don't want the pressure of having a quick takeoff where everything's happening so fast, you're breaching, foil's breaching, and then you're just eating it. So what you want to do, you want to look for breaks, you want to look for waves where you can get into them, you can go straight, and then you can get up on foil. And then, you know, that's what I tell a lot of people that are learning and beginning, is like, let's find a spot where it's not too intimidating, not too big. Even better, there might be a little white water coming in, waves already broken, and we're gonna rough into that wave. We're literally gonna paddle towards the beach, catch the white water. When we get out in front of that white water, we're gonna stand on the foil, and we're just gonna go straight. We're gonna control the elevation and go straight. No quick movements, just get it going straight. What you'll find is very quickly, once you're getting that foil elevated, it opens up the world to you, because the foils are so fast that they're going to outrun any building wave for the most part. Unless it's a closeout, closing out the entire beach, your wave, even in the white water, is still building towards the beach. And so what you discover is, okay, now that I'm up and foiling, I'm way faster than the wave itself, even if I'm going straight towards the beach. So just easy angled turns, not quick snaps, nothing like that. Now I'm roughing in, I'm going straight, but I'm going to one side, I'm going towards the shoulder. Quickly you'll discover that you're getting up safely, you're riding that foil. As you angle down the wave, now you have this green face that's reforming. And the magic part about the foils is you don't need that steep wall to keep you going. So that's why foiling's so great, is that waves that nobody would surf, because you can't surf them, because once you're on the shoulder they're too soft, the foil keeps going. And so that'll build your progression, that'll build your confidence, and then you can go up to the steeper waves, but it'll keep you safe. And literally, probably the biggest issue that I've seen where people are falling, they're getting hurt, has to do with getting the foil perpendicular to the energy of the wave. So when you're starting out, you just want to be carrying towards the beach in nice gentle angles. Maybe you start up, you're elevating the foil, you're going straight, but then you're angling towards whatever side. Probably start with your dominant side. For me, I'm regular foot, so it's like, okay, I'm up on foil, I'm in control, now I'm angling to my right. And then that'll build the confidence. If you get perpendicular to the wave or the white water, things are going to go badly, because you have this foil, it's underwater, and as soon as that white water hits, if I'm the wave and you're standing here, it's going to carry you over. You're not going to recover from that. So, you know, we go back to catching green walls, that kind of thing, angling into the wave, getting on the shoulder. When you're first beginning, that's not important. It's going to happen naturally, because you're going to discover the foil's so efficient that even on the smallest little green water, you're out there and you're riding. So that's what I recommend. It's just take it easy, take it step by step, no quick movements. Try to avoid getting parallel to the waves or the energy of the wave, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, it was interesting. So the way that I got parallel is I actually roughed into the wave, went out to the shoulder into the green water, and then I was making a run at guardrails back across the front of the wave to try to get out the other side, and I thought I had another turn. Well, guess what happens with the side of that mast when the white water hits it? Boom!
It goes.
And that's not a great way to fall.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing. I mean, there's a great pioneer and one of the best foilers on the planet that I think said, with the foils, you don't want to stick around until the party ends. And so, you know, credit to Dave Kalama, but he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Something starts going wrong, you don't try to recover, you don't try to do anything other than just get away from the foil. The best way is behind it, wherever the energy is carrying it, just get away.
Yeah.
When you're perpendicular to the wave, that's when the scariest stuff happens, because that's where I call it the lawn chair. The board's here, your body's here, you lawn chair fold kind of over the foil, and
so when in doubt,
what we're avoiding.
When in doubt, get out.
Yeah.
And so, all right, Johnny, we talked about roughing into a wave, and I found that to be really successful. And then the other thing too is as you're going, when you're catching these waves, you want to be much further forward than you think you want to be.
Right.
So, you know, and that took a little bit for me to get used to, where, you know, being that far forward at first was a little bit uncomfortable, but then you realize that that is the way to do it. So maybe we can talk now in terms of go step by step in terms of when we're paddling into a wave, you know, what do we got to think about? How far forward might we be on the board? And we're going to do it, we're going to shoot it here on the grass so you can see it. You can try this at home before you get into the water, but you'll take away the principles in terms of as you get into the surf for the first time, what you want to be thinking about. And from there, you know, hopefully we'll add some more footage around it.
Let's talk about starting prone foiling, where you want to be board position wise when you're paddling. And then just some tips that I think you'll find useful, especially as you're starting out. Board position, paddling position on a foil. For me, I had a lot of experience surfing, and what I had to learn sort of the hard way was that you want to be more forward. What it should feel like to you is, I would take where you're normally at, where it feels you're paddling the board and it feels like I'm in the right spot, and literally I would move it up an inch. It's gonna feel foreign, and it's gonna feel like you're too far forward. You don't want to be so much that you're purling the nose when you're paddling, but it'll feel awkward because you're used to being on a surfboard. What I think is going on with that is this. What you don't realize is you have a full foil underneath you, and that's like a fulcrum. It's also like kind of an anchor, and it's balancing you. And so at first when you get out prone foiling, you're thinking to yourself, well, the thing I don't want to do is I don't want to purl, I don't want to go over the falls. But what happens when you're on a foil is that foil underneath you is a bit of an anchor point. So I would almost say it's darn near impossible to purl a foil board. It's more likely that what is going to happen is you're too far back, it's going to lift out of the water. And so wading to the forward is very, very important. So I can kind of demonstrate here. Here's where I would be typically on a surfboard, and you can feel that position. You're like, okay, I feel like I'm planing, I feel like everything's level, this is where I'd be on a surfboard. When you're foiling, as I mentioned, you move it up an inch or more. It feels foreign, but it feels foreign because all your muscle memory is used to surfing. When you have the foil under you, it kind of cantilevers you and anchors you, but once that foil lifts, then it's critical to have that weight forward. Otherwise, what's going to happen, every wave you catch, the foil's going to want to lift because you don't have the weight working right. The waves are going to pass under you, or as soon as you catch that wave, you're going to breach. So that's the thing, just come up on the board a little more than you think. The other thing that's critically important with the weighting is the use of your arms and your hands. And what I mean by that is when you're catching a wave, I would move up your hand placement, especially as you're learning to prone foil. Just like you move your body position up an inch, you move your hand placement when where you'd be putting your arms on the board from surfing up forward. What I mean by that is, you know, like surfing, my arm placement might be back here to pop up. But in foiling, I'm moving that up to here. Because what that does is when you're catching the wave, it's so critical for your stability and balance to keep that board from overfoiling. And literally to get into that wave stable to the point where when you pop up, your weight is stable on that foil. What it should feel like is, you know, probably even a good drill would be get out on the board. Don't even worry about foiling it. Just catch some waves on your stomach and make sure that that foil isn't lifting you. Like literally like you were when you were a kid, you're learning, you're on a boogie board. Just get very comfortable catching the wave, even whitewater, pushing forward so I'm not even foiling, and my weight's there. In that ride, I'm in control, I'm stable, the board's riding like this, it's not even foiling while I'm riding my belly. You do that a couple times and you'll know that weighting and that hand placement. Next part of the progression though is when you're popping up, and like I said, think forward. Think weight forward. It's counterintuitive to surfing because in surfing everything comes off your back foot, you get those fins engaged. In foiling it's your front foot that's controlling everything. It's not really your back foot. And so so that weighting's really good. I'll add this too. When we talk about roughing in, I would say you could even be more forward. You're basically wanting to sink that board. A lot of times in whitewater, if I know that there's whitewater coming, I'll bump up even further, even to the point where this nose is even kind of sinking in the water. I'm paddling, I can kind of lift the nose like this by arching my back. Because once that board's buried in there, you get hit by the whitewater, that whitewater is going to pick you up and it's going to shoot you out in front. Once you're out in front, you get your stability and then you can come up onto the board. So, you know, if there's one takeaway from here, it's just move everything forward by an inch. Move your hand placement forward. Your hands are very important because you can control it. If I've got my arms up forward here, I can control what's going on. If they're back here, they're just too far back. So you use those as your steering, and you'll find once you start getting a push with the foil, you got good control.
Johnny, one of the things that was awesome, one of the things that I want to add that I noticed is that not being as experienced as a surfer as you are, I learned a ton being in the lineup watching Bones. You know, Jim Bones out here in Maui, and I had a breakthrough. I actually was in the water with Kalama, Kahului Harbor last time I was here last winter in January, February. And what I watched was how slowly they decided to pop to their feet. And that doesn't mean they were late. It doesn't mean that they moved in slow motion. It meant that when they were roughing in, they went ahead, made sure that board was going to be unfoiled. They had the hands forward just like you showed, and then they got to their feet.
Right.
I know sometimes for beginners like myself, you get a level of anxiety or excitement, whatever you want to call it, where you're so anxious to pop up and get out and just start foiling. You just got to chill out a second, make sure you're there, then go ahead and get your feet up. So maybe you could talk about just that, you know, quickly, just a little bit of that timing.
How I would describe it is I would say once the foil starts engaging, because as soon as you catch the wave, like even if it's whitewater, as soon as you get the push where your board and your foil's moving, everything's engaging. So you got to think about that foil's engaging underneath you. And once that foil gets powered up, it is going to want to lift. but it also starts to engage its stability features underneath you as well. And so what you'll see a lot with prone foiling, and especially guys catching waves, is it'll look like they're waiting a little longer than you would on a surfboard. And the reason for that is because they are. Really what they're doing, especially if you see them catching whitewater or roughing in, as we like to call it, is they're making sure the whole unit has stability before they decide that they're gonna pop up. In other words, they're making sure that everything feels stable, and then they're popping up. So what it'll look like is you'll see a lot of guys, say I'm paddling, there's some white water, boom, 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 I'm catching the wave, and then I'm going. You'll see guys almost sit in this position for a little bit. And as we've talked about, what that is it's engaging that forward pressure, and it's getting everything stable. So you'll see them go, they're like this, and as they get out in the white water, as soon as they know they're stable, they'll almost be cruising like this a little bit. And if you look at my body position, everything's forward. My chest, my shoulders, my hands, I'm forcing that nose into the wave. Once the foil and the board engages, it becomes really stable. You can feel it. And then once it's stable, that's when you pop up, and then you come up and you're going. And so if you do that prematurely, your board really isn't going. It's premature. If everything's too slow, then it just gets wonky. So that's the thing. I mean, I would even practice it. Like if you're new to it, like I said, you go out, see how it feels to catch waves on a foil board before you're rushing to get that pop up. Paddle. Get in front of it, see how that board engages, and just control it in this position and feel. What you'll find is once the foil engages, everything gets really stable, and that's the time you want to pop up.
Well, Johnny, thank you so much. As always, insightful, giving us plenty of things to think about. This was the video for the beginners, getting out there for the first time. Carry your board safely, get out in the water, ride a couple on your belly right in front, just get a feel for being forward. Then you'll get to that point where it gets stable and you can ride it. Thank you so much, John. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it down in there. Regardless of what board and foil choice you make, most important thing is you get out there and have a good time. Be safe, enjoy the ocean, enjoy foiling, and a little disclaimer, it may become a little addictive. So, you might want to warn your wife, your husband, your family members that once you start foiling, there's no turning back. Johnny, is there anything else you would like to add for the Half-Life Nation?
Yes, there is, Tim.
What is that?
I would say, love your friends and family.
Okay.
Have a nice day, and be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other. You heard it here first. Hopefully we'll see you out there on the water. Send us your pictures, man. We want to share it with the rest of the Half-Life Nation. We appreciate you tuning in, and stick around for more content to follow. Aloha and mahalo. Quiet down, kid.
We don't wanna go war. Only make hapla, we don't wanna go war. We only make hapla.